part of this new scheme launched today. If you need a mortgage, you can apply up to 95%. Let's go to TV property expert Martin Roberts, who's now in Bristol, and Martin is one of the presenters on the Homes Under the Hammer programme, a programme that should have been presented by me, but then, okay, you've got it instead. Much more.
Anytime you want, Eamon. Anytime you want.
Anytime you want. Now, you go around, I mean, I see you on your travels and you go around the whole country, you and Lucy Alexander, and you look and you see what's happening out there. Do you think what is being proposed today will actually make a difference to the market?
Massively. I mean, anyone who thinks this isn't going to cause a huge rush to people to buy properties is living on a different planet, basically. I mean, one thing which has held back the property market in the last few years has been the inability of people to get finance, and one of the big parts of that is the amount of deposit which people have to save. And in the sort of like the halcyon days 2005, 2006, if you remember, you could almost get like 100% loan, as in no deposit, and then it dropped, and maybe during 2008 and onwards we were looking at 10, 15, even 20% deposit that people had to save for. What this scheme is doing is basically saying the government will guarantee part of the loan so the banks and the building societies can now come along and be happy to offer up to 95% loan to value. So all those people who were struggling to get their deposits together are suddenly going to go, whoopee! So they'll be waking up this morning, I think, feeling quite hopeful.
Yeah. One of the reasons, of course, the banks aren't lending the way they used to is that new laws require them to be able to cover their loans and have a lot of money in reserve. This is one way the government is choosing to fix this situation. Another way could be just to change the rules that they brought in and allow the banks to lend more against what they're being asked.
That is true. I think the big thing on this as well is that it allows people to get these loans. However, the people still have to meet the criteria for getting those loans, and over the last few years the criteria for actually getting loans has been increased quite dramatically. So whereas people on the fringe of being able to afford loans would have been allowed through before, now you have to prove even more that you can actually still pay these loans. And also there's the issue of what happens after 7 years, because the guarantee scheme only lasts for 7 years. So after 7 years, something is going to happen, and you are going to be left with a house, perhaps, then you're going to have to remortgage, and your circumstances might have changed.
Yeah, and of course the danger and the worry is that this will overheat the market, and that there will be the feared housing bubble that everybody's talking about. What would you say to that?
I don't think this can do anything other than put prices up, because what you've got is the property market is a supply and demand scenario, isn't it? And if you've suddenly got more demand, which this will do, I mean, the reckonings are that, bear in mind, this is open not just to first-time buyers, it's to people looking to remortgage, or just to maybe who've taken a step out of the housing market, rented for a few years and are going to come back into the market. It's open to those as well. So suddenly you're going to have a lot of people looking to buy houses, and relatively speaking, the same number of houses out there. That can only push prices one way. Now, whether that results in going up and up and up and then a crash, which is obviously people don't like a bubble, but the worst thing is when a bubble bursts, I don't know. But anyone who thinks this isn't going to push up prices and demand is not thinking clearly.
Yeah, but you see, Martin, it's a different picture all over the country. I mean, Scotland will be different than the southeast of England. Well, the southeast of England's a little sort of microclimate of its own. I mean, Northern Ireland, the Midlands, there's a lot of depressed areas as regards property prices at the moment,
absolutely.
And many people will not have seen a return on investments that they've made in the past 5 years. So the question is, where do you stand on rent or buy?
It depends on your own personal circumstances. I think if you look at interest rates at the moment, they are still historically low. One thing that is worth saying as well is that nothing comes for free. So these help to buy schemes and the mortgages associated with them are not going to be the most competitive in the market. So you are basically going to have to pay more interest to get these loans. But that's the general case anyway. The higher the loan to value, the more you have to pay in interest rates. But if you're sitting in a house that you've already bought and waiting for the market to recover, the only glimmer of hope is that if property prices increase generally, then hopefully you'll benefit from that in the long term.
Okay, let's see what reaction's been coming into what you've been saying, Martin.
Yeah, so we've got those people getting in touch who are saying, this is a good thing because they can't afford a deposit. It'll allow them to get on the property market. But there are people getting in touch with concerns. Socrates is one of them saying short memories, 95%, then 100%, then 125% mortgages. He says everything on credit doesn't work. And another one from Pete here saying this will just drive up the cost of housing and the money should have been spent on creating social housing instead. Okay,
and we put it all together, Martin, and a very important day today. Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Danny Alexander, on at 7:30, and he'll be defending this policy. Anything you'd like to say to him or point out to him?
I think it's a gift horse potentially, but one that has to be fed very carefully. And what people must bear in mind is that mortgages still have to be affordable for you. And just because you have the ability to get the mortgage, you have to think carefully about what the actual owning of that mortgage and operating of that mortgage means.
Yeah, very sensible, Martin. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate your time today. That's Martin Roberts from
My pleasure.
Homes Under the Hammer. Thank you very much.